what are some of the things that you had to learn the hard way as the General Counsel?
Perception is real. That's the first thing that comes to the top of my mind. Perception is real. You are not who you are. You are perceived a certain way, and that is who you are, and that becomes your reality. So you have to be very mindful of how you are being perceived.
True.
If you're perceived as aggressive, then you are aggressive. You can be assertive in your own book, but if everybody at the table perceives you as aggressive, then you're aggressive. So it takes a lot of effort to create the right perception that you're willing to live with and go along with. So that is one. Second thing is, you should know how to swim with the dolphins as also with the sharks. You have to know. That is a key survival skill. Everybody talks about stakeholder management, having allies, having mentors, having sponsors. All of that is true. However, if you don't know how to manage all these different personalities, no matter who you have in your corner, you're not going to be successful.
Hi, Shweta. Welcome to the show. It's wonderful connecting with you after so many years. We haven't met since NALSAR days, so this is fantastic. I'm glad we're doing this. Since then, you have built a remarkable career as the General Counsel and VP Legal of Mercedes Benz. When you look back, did you always think that your career would unfold this way? Also, at what point in your life did you figure that law might be the right path for you?
Firstly, Kirti, thank you so much for having me over here today. It's a pleasure sitting across. While we've said this, it's been 20 years. It somehow does feel like as if it was yesterday.
True.
So I'm very glad to be seated here today. Thank you so much for the invitation. Looking back, of course, I never thought that it is going to unfold the way it unfolded, for which I'm immensely grateful. However, when I started out, one thing was clear in my mind, that I want to be a corporate lawyer from, I think, third year onwards in law school. The choice of law was made pretty early on for me in 9th grade.
Okay.
I had one of these very fascinating conversations with a distant uncle of mine, who opened my mind towards the legal fraternity and law as a career. So I'm very grateful to him that he gave me that pep talk, so as to say, back in the day, 1995 it was, if I'm not wrong. It was really long ago that we had that conversation. And then I started thinking seriously about law and started doing my research. Fortunately for me, despite hailing from a very small town in northern India, I was extremely well supported by my father. And he was very excited about the possibility, which one would think would have been a rarity back in the day. And so it was. But along with me, I found him researching and making sure that I had the right resources, from getting me books to study with, from all the way from New Delhi, because this is the early 2000s that we're talking about, late 90s and early 2000s that we're talking about. So there weren't so many resources available from where I come from. I come from Lucknow, you know that. And it was tough to get all the information very easily. We're now living in the age of AI. And I often say this, so do other people from our generation, that we've seen some phenomenal developments during the course of the last 20-25 years. So internet was not the thing back then. You couldn't access resources that easily. But my father really proved to be that pillar of support for me, where he made sure that I had the right information. That's how law school happened, and the rest is history. But even during the course of law school, during the first couple of years especially, I never thought that I would pick corporate law. It's only in the third year, when I started getting more exposure, when internships were happening, that I picked corporate law as the way to go. And ever since, I have not regretted. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time lawyering for various organizations, very fortunate to have been associated with some of the top organizations who gave me the right platforms and also the right kind of support that is needed. So there, I'm extremely grateful again to people who helped me groom myself and today be in the position that I have at Mercedes Benz. But looking back, a lot of people to be very, very grateful towards.
Wonderful, Shweta. In fact, I can't agree more with you, right? In those days, internet was actually a luxury. I mean, I still remember second or third year, we started getting internet available in our hostel. And that was like a great thing, right? And now to think that everything is right at your fingertips, right? As you rightly pointed out, we are living in the age of AI. So yeah, wonderful to hear about your journey and how you chose law, and your supportive father as well, who played a critical role in you becoming a lawyer today, right? So Shweta, after you graduated from NALSAR, you joined Amarchand Mangaldas, which is one of the top law firms in India, and today it's split into Cam and Sam. It's still one of the dream destination for most lawyers today. And after that, you stepped into in-house legal roles in IBM, Target, also I think at Infosys briefly. Currently, you are the General Counsel at Mercedes Benz. So how has this journey been for you? And also, what prompted the transition from law firm to in-house role?
So I have to be very honest now, it's been several years since I transitioned from law firm practice to in-house lawyering. And I remember the first couple of years right after NALSAR, you remember me being a pre-placement at Amarchand. Yes. So those were the days where we were all vying for the top law firm jobs. So that took me to Mumbai. And the first couple of years, extremely hectic, but very rewarding. It is true that Amarchand, whether it is Cam or Sam, great regard for the leadership at both the places. I was one of the privileged few to have worked directly with Mr. and Mrs. Cyril Shroff back in the day. So a lot of hands-on training, lovely mentoring that I received. And when I look back, while it was extremely hectic, like I said, it was very fulfilling. And it became a stepping stone for me in terms of my movement to in-house lawyering. However, Kirti, being a small town girl, I wasn't exactly impressed by Mumbai as a city. Not making a controversial statement, Mumbai is the financial capital of the country, but to each her own.
But may I ask why?
It's just way too fast-paced without any real emotion, I feel, as a city.
Okay.
And when you come from a small place or a culturally very, very rich place, which takes its own time to do things, which has its own cycle of events and its own pace, it's sometimes very hard to adjust in a metro like Mumbai. And Mumbai can be brutal with its various, nuances, be it the housing, be it traffic, be it the climate. Strangely, I was talking to a colleague who comes from Mumbai very recently, and we were laughing. She said, I don't like Bangalore weather. And I said, I can't believe that you're choosing Bangalore weather over, Mumbai weather over Bangalore weather.
I would be surprised too.
So yes, I mean, she was the first person I heard say that, but then she was born and brought up in Mumbai. So I think a lot of it goes back to who you are intrinsically as a person. What are some of the things that call out to you and you feel excited and happy about? And what do you see yourself doing consistently over a period of time? So when I was thinking about leaving Mumbai, one of the things that I kept thinking repeatedly about is that this is the right move, because is Mumbai a long-term city for me? And the resounding response every time in my mind was no. And that's what convinced me to move. And Bangalore was always very exciting because I had all of you people who used to bring back lovely Bangalore stories. I had myself been in Bangalore for some of my penultimate year trainings, internships as we call them. So it was not an alien city. And honestly, the city really embraced me. So I never felt the need of going back to any other city. And ever since that time, ever since 2009, except for a brief period that I was in the US with Infosys, I've been in Bangalore and I quite enjoy being here. And each career move, when I think about it, it has been quite well thought of. I wouldn't say it just happened. It was well thought of in the sense that I wanted to move in-house because I wanted to carve a niche out for myself. I wanted to focus on a certain kind of practice, and I'm glad I picked tech. And then when I thought that I would love to be a general counsel one day, I made the conscious move to Target, which also gave me my first GC opportunity. And then I'm a big believer of you should know once your work is done at a place. And like I jokingly say that a good gambler knows when to get up from the table.
And how do you know that?
So you have seen the practice. You've seen things evolve. You have also seen and hopefully measured your own contributions. And you know how much more you can do or how much you need to do for that particular practice to survive and do well. There comes a time in the journey when you know that you have trained your team as a leader. Now I speak as a leader. You've trained your team in a way that they don't really need you. And that is the most satisfying place to be in as a leader. And once you don't have much to contribute towards the growth, then it's important to look for the next thing where you will be able to contribute, where you will grow in the process as well. So I think those have been the guiding factors for me. How my team has been doing, how my contributions are for the organization that I work at. And that has really helped me make the right decision. So looking back, I would say it's been very fulfilling. It's been a great learning opportunity. It's helped me evolve and change. I'm quite proud of the version that I have turned out into. So yes, it's been a lovely almost 2 decades now.
So Shweta, what is it about in-house lawyering that you love the most or enjoy the most?
This is pretty straightforward because my heart beats for it. It's being business, actually. It's not so much pure lawyering as we know it. It's not just pulling out a manual or a rule book and reading out from there. It's about being able to tie all the loose ends together and evaluate it as a business personnel and see what makes sense. Eventually, our jobs as lawyers, especially corporate lawyers, is to move things along.
Correct.
And to be able to understand that business perspective and deliver on that front, I would say is the most exciting and fulfilling part of the job.
Great. Were there any moments, while you were working at all the organizations that you've been part of, that sort of redefined the way you think about or see work today?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. Each of them. So when I still remember, this is really funny because I moved from a law firm and my first job was back in the day, IBM, and blessed to have had the mentors and the bosses that I did. And I'm so glad that I got that training early on. So one day I was just wondering, I'm giving you an example. I was just wondering, why have I not heard back from whoever I had written to? An email, a simple advice that I had written to someone. Some few days had passed, I think a couple of days or something. And in the firm, I was very used to 24 hours response time, and clients would be just writing back by the hour to get your thoughts. And I was not used to it. And that was my first, so as to say, training in moving in-house, that nobody is going to ask you for advice by the hour. This is a running business. So your advice would be consumed, it would be processed in view of certain other things. And it would be in the background. It's there. It's not that it's not being looked into or it's not being appreciated. It is that there is a different way of doing things when you are on the in-house side. Then some of the cultural aspects of being an in-house lawyer I learned at Target. Even though IBM, Target, both American companies, I was with Infosys US, again, American, but cultural nuances and how important they are in your practice, how they influence the way you think and you are able to then influence others around you. The importance of building solid partnerships, nurturing those partnerships, stakeholder management. And then my first leadership opportunity also came in Target. So learning to manage people and realizing that side of me that I do have a knack for it and I can nurture that side of my talent to do something beyond just lawyering. And to further cement it at Mercedes, where I lead a large team today, a team that I'm proud to have built pretty much from scratch over the last 6.5 years that I've been with Mercedes now. It's very rewarding. So each of these organizations that I have been associated with has added something to my personality as a human being and has added so much to me as a lawyer. And it goes beyond everything that we were taught in law school. This is the learning ground. And every time I have felt the necessity to step up is because of my employers, because of what is their expectation of me, both as a lawyer and as a leader.
So you've clearly enjoyed your work, Shweta, and I think you've found a very fulfilling career, which is a wonderful thing. So what do you think are some of the qualities that help a general counsel thrive in their role? General counsel, or even, as a legal counsel, working up the ladder?
Kirti, just the other day I was on a panel and one of the questions was very similar to what you're asking me now. And it's so fresh in my mind because it was only a couple of days ago. One thing that I say from the stage every single time is that there is no substitute for subject matter expertise. You have to be very thorough with what you claim to be knowing. And that doesn't mean that you need to know it by memory or rote. No. It's the heart and soul that you put into researching something, learning about it. And now in 2 decades, there have been moments that you've been stumped like, oh, I didn't read anything like this in law school. There have been tons of moments like that. So how much of your passion then plays out and what you are able to do in that moment really defines you. So subject matter expertise. And then I still remember when very early on in my career, somebody passed this on to me and I would very lovingly pass it on to the next generation is humility. If you are able to practice that, you will go places. So I feel that a general counsel is someone whom the company, organization really trusts and really banks upon. And therefore, their own moral compass, their integrity is foremost. I think a general counsel is defined by the values that he or she possesses and how they translate into everyday practice. So that I would feel is so integral that, again, cannot be traded off for anything. Of course, the regular requirements go, understanding your business, being business, actually, not just understanding. But I would say, if I have to look back today, the one top quality that I would put right on the first page is ethics and integrity.
Okay. So subject matter expertise, ethics, integrity, humility, and also being a business facilitator are the top qualities for a top-notch general counsel. So Shweta, I want to understand what are some of the challenges as a general counsel or as the leadership in a company that people don't talk enough about, and also what are some of the things that you had to learn the hard way as the general counsel, or even when you were as an in-house legal counsel?
Perception is real. That's the first thing that comes to the top of my mind. Perception is real. You are not who you are. You are perceived a certain way, and that is who you are, and that becomes your reality. So you have to be very mindful of how you are being perceived.
True.
If you're perceived as aggressive, then you are aggressive. You can be assertive in your own book, but if everybody at the table perceives you as aggressive, then you're aggressive. So that is something that you have to fight real hard. And those perceptions get made easily because human beings are judgmental by nature. So it takes a lot of effort to create the right perception that you're willing to live with and go along with. So that is one. Second thing is, you should know how to swim with the dolphins as also with the sharks. You have to know that. That is a key survival skill. And everybody talks about stakeholder management, having allies, having mentors, having sponsors. All of that is true. However, if you don't know how to manage all these different personalities, no matter who you have in your corner, you're not going to be successful. And oftentimes people make the mistake that swimming with the dolphins, everything is great, I'm very happy. But your real growth does not come swimming with the dolphins.
That is so true.
You have to know how to manage the sharks. And having empathy for people who work along with you, especially your superiors. It often takes me back to a very interesting anecdote. I suddenly was in a situation where I was reporting to somebody very senior in the US back in the day, one of the organizations. And I would send him a message and he would never respond. Like, would take, forget 12 hours, 24, 48 hours would pass and he would not. And one day it was just very sad. I used to think as a young lawyer practicing in-house that this was about me. I'm inadequate. And I was beating myself into a corner until a mentor told me, she sat me down and she said, do you know what all he manages? Like, what are the things that he does for the company? And I said, yeah, he's so-and-so. And she said, no, he's not just so-and-so. There's so much that he's doing. Like, think about this, think about that. And as she was speaking, I said, oh yes, this is not personal. This is not about me being inadequate. And from that day till today, I have consciously practiced having that empathy for people that work along with me. And it really helps navigate some very difficult situations. So if there's one thing that I would tell people, I would be like, very rarely are things personal. And if you don't treat them as being personal, it'll be so much easier for you. So yeah, those are some of my lessons.
Those are some very thoughtful words, Shweta. Also, there's this perception, I don't know if you have come across this in your career, right? That there's a perception that, the legal teams are usually cost centers because you're not literally generating revenue for the company. Again, this varies depending on the maturity of the organization, where in the growth trajectory they are. But having been through the startup ecosystem, I've seen all kinds of, all shades, right? So what has been your experience regarding this?
No, it's very true. In fact, people make jokes about legal teams being cost centers and non-profit centers. But oftentimes I feel that those are those people who've never seen a legal crisis or been in the midst of it.
So true.
I have learned to not take those jokes as anything else but a joke. Because I can't expect everybody to be able to appreciate what it means to have sound legal advice without having felt the necessity of it on occasions. So I would tell people not to be disheartened when they come across a joke like that. Of course, it's not right, it's insensitive, and it's also immature. And you're absolutely correct in your understanding that it depends upon where the organization also is in its journey. Large organizations, luckily for me, I worked mostly with large organizations, but I have seen how startups, I've had people who've said, we just, downloaded this agreement from someplace and this is the agreement. And with AI, it's very dangerous because people think that most of the lawyering can happen using a tool. However, instead of getting disheartened or disenchanted, I have oftentimes tried to understand what is pushing them to make a comment like that. Is there something that probably they needed and didn't get? Or was it a situation where legal advice scuttled business or prevented it from moving forward or at a speed that was desired by business. I think if you pay more attention to that, you will get to the bottom of why somebody is saying that, and you'll be able to make your own way of functioning better. But I have never gotten carried away by those statements. I just haven't.
So now that we're talking about revenues, profit, cost center, let me also touch upon a slightly sort of controversial subject, right? We don't tend to talk about that enough. Salary negotiation, right? And I think one of the things is that early in your career, you may not be well equipped with respect to negotiating salary, and you learn a lot through your own mistakes and sometimes while interacting with others as well. So over the years, right, Shweta, what has been some of the things that, because what I realized is, unlike the US, where there's a law where they'll have to actually sort of disclose the range, in India, there is like the same role may have like real variables, right? Massive difference in the range. Again, of course, it depends on the organization and which sector you're looking at. But then again, I think, what has been some of your experiences trying to negotiate salary? What are some of the tips and tricks that you use? Tell us a bit about that.
So firstly, Kirti, I have to say that women are very bad with salary negotiation. There's a bit of a gender play here.
Right.
Because women don't really ask. We are trained to not ask for an extra chapati. And that goes to salary negotiations as well. In fact, why just salary negotiations? To everything in the workplace. It's so hard to say, I need it, I deserve it, I'm willing to work for it, right? For women, and I've seen many women. I've seen many women. I have been one of those, right? Because at the beginning of your career, you don't know how to talk money. I sometimes still joke that I can't make sense of some of the mathematics behind salary structures, etc. While it's a joke, it's a poor one. I admit that. It's high time that one should know exactly how some of these things work. But for whatever reasons, whatever appeals to you, you don't tend to hard negotiate as a woman. I feel that. But one piece of advice, rather than what my experience has been, and this is coming out of my experience, you should know your value and your worth. And you shouldn't be afraid to ask it. That confidence doesn't come from day one. Everybody understands that. But you have to consciously train your brain towards that. However, it's a slippery slope. You can't be greedy. You also have to be very reasonable to your employer. You have to be mindful of the realities of business.
Correct.
You have to know the environment in which you're functioning or are required to function in. Sometimes things will work, sometimes they will not work, and you will have to look for other avenues. But this is a conscious training where you need to, before you can actually negotiate a salary or talk to an employer, you should know your own value and worth. What you have put into the kitty, how you have gotten where you have gotten, what are some of the things that are key to you, and these are all very personal. So there will come a time where you will wonder whether you're paid well or you're not, you're underpaid. Sometimes you will end up seeing information that might disturb you, that your male colleague is getting paid more, and then there will be several justifications for why he's getting paid more. One way or the other, it will be justifiable. But you should know your worth. And that comes by evaluating yourself through the course of your journey, knowing what you want, knowing what you're looking at realistically, where you want to be, what does that path look like. So there are many things that go into it.
True.
And not just a mathematical formula or a comparison with just anybody. So don't be unreasonable. Unrealistic is what I would tell the younger generation, which sometimes wonders whether they are getting paid less. At the same time, know what is it that you're looking for. Together, it will help you really ask and build the confidence to have a meaningful conversation.
Thanks for that, Shweta. Another question I had was, while I've been through, a big organization, and then I've worked at startups as well. But one thing common across all these organizations, I don't know how your experience has been, is that the legal teams are usually very lean. You will have huge organization of 50,000 or even a lakh or more, and you will have a 20-member or 10-member team, legal team. And I've actually heard from folks in big pharmaceutical companies, not to take any names, but they have like 3-member team, 4-member team.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of in-house roles, right? So for a lot of aspiring young lawyers who want to get into global companies, in-house roles, what would your advice be to them? And how big is your team, by the way? Just to get a sense of how things are.
The team at Mercedes Benz is decently sized. We're about 15 people.
In India?
In India, in Bangalore specifically, and I'm talking about the R&D entity that I represent. However, we do have a combination of lawyers and other professionals because I support the team through 6 different verticals. Core legal is absolutely an integral part of it, but there are certain other areas of work also that I support the organization with, like CSR, sustainability, etc. Practices that I've built. Have had the pleasure of recruiting people for professionals who are doing really well. So it's slightly different that way. It's a 15-member team, lawyers and non-lawyers. However, and then we leverage our other industry colleagues as and when necessary, especially if the industry is going through a major transformation like new wage code, etc. So you do go to law firms and they help you as extended arms, etc. So coming back to your question about legal teams being very lean, yes, that is true. It's been my experience as well. However, mostly I have felt, and this is just my personal experience, mostly I felt that they've been pretty adequate. I am not a big fan of just having more people in the team. Like I can't make a comparison within the organization with other teams. Like there's a 300-member team on the business side because they need it.
Yeah.
Or there's a 1,000-member team elsewhere because they need it. And that's what moves the business. But if my 15 lawyers or my 3 lawyers or my 2 lawyers can actually move business, nothing like it, because the idea is not to unnecessarily layer it.
Correct.
To people who are moving in-house, from especially fresh out of college, or if it is just after a few years of practice, the environment is different. It is different from a law firm. You're not going to be seated with 300 lawyers on a single floor. However, you will still have the support and you will be able to lean in on other people who are very crucial in your growth and are very critical to the growth of the business as well. So people in HR, people in finance who are not just stakeholders, but they are truly your friends and your companions in this journey, and you should be leaning in on them to be able to support business seamlessly. So I would encourage people to not just look at it as, oh, it's a 3-member team. You don't know what is the back-end support. In Target, I had a smaller team compared to Mercedes Benz. But it was quite adequate for business, and we had tons of friends who would help us and work as an extended arm. So there was ample support because the structures are very different in companies. And the requirements are also very different between companies also. So you can't make a comparison with a law firm or any other organization, so as to say.
So Shweta, considering the kind of competition there'll be to get into these few lean teams, right, in-house, pretty much across companies, that's what I've noticed. So when there's so much competition to get into these few roles, what would be your advice to the young aspiring lawyers? What do you think they should be focusing on for building a resume or even building skill set that will help them to flourish or get recruited by in-house counsel positions?
That's a fantastic question, Kirti, and I love the fact that you're asking it on this podcast. I would say it doesn't matter the industry that you're vying for. What is important is that you hone your core skills. So if you've chosen corporate law, for example, you should be very good with drafting, reviewing, very good with negotiations, and you should know your law. So ultimately, it goes back to your core skills as a lawyer. So I often say this, that if you are drafting a contract, the indemnification or the limitation of liability is not going to look very different across organizations.
Correct.
Yeah. How you translate your business needs into that document, you will learn over a period of time. But how will you function if you don't know how to draft an indemnity clause? Or if you don't know how an indemnity clause is different from an LOL? You won't be able to do justice to any organization in any industry. So it is not about that one day I want to work for XYZ organization. Never make the mistake of tailoring your resume to X organization. No, you're a professional. You should be able to stand by every word in your resume to say, yes, if I say I can draft, I can draft. If I have to be seated in a difficult negotiation across the table from my opponent, I should be able to negotiate. I shouldn't fumble at that point. I should know what are some of the tricks I need to pull out of my sleeve to get through that negotiation, because then nobody is coming to help you. You're pretty much on your own. So those are things that I hold very dear to my heart, and I would very willingly, happily pass it along to any lawyer who is willing to listen and take that advice, that don't get mired in, I need to work for X company or I need to reach Y organization. No. If you're a good lawyer, you will go places. And that good lawyering starts from day one, where you put your 100% very honestly into whatever you are doing. If you're being asked to do a simple research on labor law, you should be able to know where to find the law.
Right.
You should have the ability to read, process, and the perseverance to sit long hours and go through it. So takes me back many, many years ago when I once interned with the Additional Solicitor General of India. This was in the second year, very young, in New Delhi. He's no more, late Shri R.N. Trivedi. He was extremely well respected, regarded in the Supreme Court. And I was one evening sitting in his chambers and I read a very long case and I was very disappointed. And I said, so this is just not of any use for tomorrow. And he, in his very simple, sober, soft-spoken, he was extremely, sir, was very soft-spoken, in his soft-spoken style said, sit down, don't get so agitated and upset. This is a profession in which nothing that you read ever goes waste. This advice was given to me almost 25 years ago, Kirti.
Wow.
And I cannot tell you how many moments have come in these last 25 years that I've revisited this advice. Never ever, whatever you read would go waste in this profession. It could be anything, doesn't matter. I've tested it.
Right. So Shweta, moving from that to one of my favorite segments in this conversation, the impact of AI on, legal work, how AI is transforming our professional lives, right? So at an organizational level, since the last 12 months or 24 months, oh, by the way, right? So there are two kinds of things happening here. One, there is this whole gloom and doom theory coming out. And there's one side where they're saying, hey, have that agency, do things, create things. Now you're at this cusp of things where you can actually do things, right? So there is that very optimistic, take on AI and its transformative abilities. So in Mercedes Benz, since the last maybe 12 months or so, have you seen any sort of systemic change in terms of either integrating AI or how things are actually changing at an organizational level?
So let me answer this more generically. This is more about the profession. And the doom and gloom theory around AI is here to replace the lawyers.
Correct.
Let me state this. I read this somewhere. It really hit a chord and I've been repeating it ever since. AI is not here to replace lawyers. It is here to replace lawyers who don't use AI. So if you are not jumping onto the tech bandwagon, then you are the one who is getting left behind. It is wonderful that today, for some of the regular tasks, you have technology support. Things that weren't there when we started out as lawyers, right? 20 years ago. So today you have the benefit that you don't have to keep doing that same NDA over and over again.
Yeah.
Once you've done it, once things are keyed in, the next draft that you get using AI is going to be so much more easier to work off and will save your time to read up on things that you don't know about.
Correct.
So instead of seeing AI as a threat, see it as an asset, see it as a kind of co-worker that you can leverage for things that you've grown out of. You've outgrown doing the same NDA for example. Nothing against NDAs. They are the
Yeah.
first step to signing any commercial agreement. But what I'm saying is that isn't there greater value in you doing work that AI cannot do? Because you're still going to a surgeon to perform a surgery. AI is not doing that surgery for you. While there are talks that it will one day do, but we'll see how that works
plays
out,
out.
and whether in our lifetime the confidence comes that I'm willing to be on the operation table with a robot doing the surgery and
Right.
not like a surgeon who's studied for so many years. So it's still in the early stages. Yes, our company's thinking seriously about AI. They are. Are we trying to experiment with tools? Everybody is in the industry. Are we open to experimenting? Yes, absolutely. Have we seen some early signs of success? That's also true. Whether it is in-house tools or it's procuring external technology tools, I think everybody should be open to that.
So, Shweta, what do you think is the ideal way to work? Post-COVID, we realized we don't have to be in the office 5 days a week to be productive and efficient. And especially in the context of cities like Bangalore, where there is massive congestion, traffic jams, and commute takes like 2-3 hours for people, sometimes even more. What do you think is probably the ideal way to go about work? Do you think we'll have to think through the design of work now, maybe hybrid arrangements and things like that? What do you think is the ideal way to go about this?
The answer to this question, Kirti, is very simple. The ideal way to work, whether now or in the future, is what works for your business. I know there is a lot of conversation around hybrid work models and the future of work. I'm not an HR expert. However, as a leader, I'll tell you one thing. It has got to do a lot with how you collaborate. And if you belong to an organization that collaborates best being all 5 days at the workplace, so then you belong to that organization and you should show up. If you belong to an organization that's very happy collaborating in person for 2 days in a week and then collaborating online in virtual spaces 3 days a week, then you belong in that organization. So I don't think there is one blueprint that can be drawn up, whether it is at a country or at a world level, to say we are a global organization and this is what works for us. No, in each business, in each country, in each geography, in each team, things are very different. And we've experienced that also. A lawyer's work will be possible from wherever, perhaps. Unless
but
in-house.
Not litigation or anything. Yeah.
Not litigation. You have to go to court. But how would a negotiation work? Is it the same if you were doing it virtually or if you were in person? My preference is being there in person, because it is so important for the success of my business that I show up. So therefore, I say that the right way is what works for your business. And that is your primary stakeholder in this conversation. So you are better off just taking that cue from your business and then structuring your workday according to that. So that's a straightforward answer. However, one thing I would say to the young lawyers, please show up. Because if you lose out on those initial years, when nobody knows you, you're just an email box that is responding to things, you will find it very difficult to find your identity eventually. So please show up. Because I often say this in forums, that showing up for the job quite literally is the bare minimum expectation associated with any job, right? It helps build confidence. It also helps with efficiency. Yes, Bangalore as a city has its own issues in terms of the commute, etc., which means you will have to make some adjustments, the time you come in, the time you leave, some amount of flexibility. But I don't think that the world is standing today at 100% remote work and still clocking the success of pre-COVID times. So yes, COVID has been a major disruptor. It has shown us different ways of working. I would say instead of leveraging them as excuses, you should leverage them as assets in the conversation. That when you can't show up, you have one way of doing things or getting things done. So my thoughts are more with what works for business.
So you're giving a very diplomatic answer, but I understand.
I mean,
totally
and
agree.
that's what I have learned
Huh.
in the last almost 5 years of seeing this kind of a work model, because hybrid doesn't work all the time.
No, so I totally agree, right? The remote thing, 100% remote is just not possible. You will have to show, because even within a week, when you want to have the team meetings, you want to interact with your team or even with the business partners, right? You have to be there in person. But will I support a 5-day office? I don't know. Maybe it's a personal preference thing. But I also understand for the folks who are, the young lawyers who just joined the team, they learn a lot just by observing you, by absorbing what's happening in the environment, right? They will miss out on a lot of learning. That is true. That's
So-
a very valid point.
I do want to say this here, that my answer comes from the experience that we've had, like I said, over the last 5 years. Sometimes you just need a person in the room and you discover that they are not there. And it's
Yeah.
not the same level of impact when they are on the phone.
Agree.
And while they are doing their best, they are present online, they are meeting the deadlines on whatever assignment is given to them, they're missing out on that exact crucial opportunity that you just mentioned. So while it may not be 5 days fully, and I don't want to talk about whether 2 works, 3 works, 4 or 5 works, which is why my answer is
very business
that
specific.
it is very
Agree.
business.
Correct.
If your business unit that you're supporting as a lawyer needs you 5 days, because they meet every single day in the morning
Correct.
to
Yeah.
do a touch base, and especially in organizations that are doing deals by the minute, right? Services, for example. It's very hard then if you're the only person who's not in the
Working
room.
from home. Yeah. Correct.
You are going to feel left out. One part is that your learning suffers, your visibility becomes a challenge, but you are also feeling left out. So there are certain emotional aspects of it. But it's a difficult one, I would say, because we are now looking not just at, it's not anymore just about Gen Z, it's also alphas that we are dealing with, and their perception of the workplace and their expectations are very different.
Okay. So what has your experience been working with the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha?
I have been quite blessed.
Oh, okay.
I have quite a few young people on my team. They are very energetic, enthusiastic. They have a fire in the belly where they're willing to learn. So I've not had that, luckily, knock on the board, I've not had that situation where I'm struggling, where somebody's, all those funny things that we see these days on the internet, somebody's turning up from their vacation, like happening in the background, a party going on or a face mask. Luckily, I haven't experienced those. Those are also realities. But my personal experience is that maybe it's got to do, sometimes I wonder that, maybe it's got to do with the profession. Law school really makes us very serious and focused, I feel.
And also, I think you've done a good job hiring the right people.
I think so too. I got very lucky with the tremendously smart, well-equipped lawyers that we brought on board who do not cut corners.
But this is true, Shweta. In my long career, right, as an in-house counsel, I have not come across a lazy lawyer.
Yeah.
Never, ever. It's like the bare minimum.
Yes.
Resilience and hard work is the bare minimum. You don't survive otherwise. You're out of the team in a few days or months.
True. So I have come across some fabulous, very young lawyers, even professionals, people who support us in areas who are not lawyers, in compliance, in my CSR, in sustainability, in technical compliance roles. Very young, extremely vivacious, well-read, well-traveled. So I've gotten very lucky with my set of Gen Zs and Alphas.
Shweta, you were just mentioning CSR. Yeah. So you've been kind of very actively involved in the CSR initiatives of Mercedes Benz. I want to understand, what are some of the projects that you've done that's close to your heart?
Oh, yeah, lovely. So yes, we have a thriving CSR practice. Mercedes Benz is extremely committed to making a difference in the communities that we are close to, and in both the cities. So, Mercedes Benz R&D is in Bangalore and Pune. So we have initiatives running in both the cities. And all of our initiatives are organized under 2 broad heads. One is sustainable mobility and the other is environmental sustainability. We are a mobility company, so naturally the mobility initiatives are quite high. But particularly, I'm very proud of the Mercedes Benz Sustainability Garage that we launched a couple of years back. It's now in its third running year. So a couple of years ago, at our flagship sustainability dialogue in New Delhi at Bharat Mandapam, we launched the Mercedes Benz Sustainability Garage, where we tie up with innovators, with organizations that are high on innovation, innovation for social good, social entrepreneurship, and we mentor them. We also sponsor them from CSR, and particularly exciting partnership that we signed with TERI, which is a leading think tank in India, which is on training young individuals into managing EV infrastructure, the charging infrastructure. So that is a project that is very close to my heart, because it helped me understand a lot about what it would need for EVs to really run on Indian roads, and how that infrastructure needs to evolve in order to support the EV sales in the country. So that's a lovely initiative. It's called Future in Charge. Even the government of India is now backing it.
Oh, nice.
So it's a very sound project that we have undertaken on the mobility side. Similarly, we have a thriving partnership with T-Hub in Hyderabad, where
I've heard of this, yes.
the climate tech incubators that we run, and how we support young entrepreneurs to really develop on ideas which can truly save the planet in the long run. So I think those are a couple of partnerships that are extremely close to my heart. And that we are very proud of. Also, there is a lovely project that we have with Sesame India, which is called Mera Planet, Mera Ghar, where we focus on children's education through Muppets, colorful books, publications from Sesame. So Sesame is a great partner. So I would say CSR personally is very close to my heart, and to have been associated with all of these projects just gives me hope for the future. So that's a very exciting part of my practice.
Wonderful to hear about these projects, Shweta. How do you, over the course of time, right, how do you sort of assess the impact of your involvement in CSR projects? How do you, is there any process that you do that, or is it something open-ended?
No, it's not open-ended. We do look at impact. We do impact assessment. So for example, in the Future in Charge project, we run workshops along with TERI. So TERI runs it for us. We have the ability to see what is being taught and who's coming in and how many people graduate, and we're part of, say, the graduation ceremony. So we see how people came in and how well trained they are when they are going out. So it's also the number of applications we receive, the people who go through the program, the testimonials we get from them. Similarly, in the climate tech incubator also, it is quite easy to see the impact, because these are young entrepreneurs, and you see, look at the ideas that they came with and how they are going out with, graduating from the tech incubator. So you can see a definitive value add over there when they enter the program and when they are going out, and how they also impact communities. So the work that we do on the social mobility side also has projects on road safety. And you have parents come in and say that our children are now telling us what to do. Like, I can't drive my car without the seat belt. That's so fundamental to now my life, which wasn't the case until my child went through this particular program. So there are various measurables associated with each project, and we're very focused on those measurables. We track them actively. And impact is one of the deciding factors when we pick our projects.
Understood.
So they are impact driven.
Great to hear about this, Shweta. So let's move to the last part of the conversation, rapid fire round. Short, quick answers.
Okay.
One skill every great general counsel must master. Listening?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite travel destination?
In India, it's Udaipur.
Udaipur. Great. I love that place too. Favorite car, one you own or would love to own?
I would love to own a Maybach.
Okay.
It's really beautiful.
Any specific color that you...
Black.
Black. Okay, great. What would you say to someone who calls legal a cost center?
They need better risk assessment skills.
Okay. AI, threat, tool, or teammate for lawyers?
Teammate. I
Okay.
said that earlier.
One habit that keeps you grounded?
Gratitude.
A book you would recommend?
I'm reading Badass Begums right now.
Oh, okay.
I would truly recommend it.
Okay. Someone you'd love to have dinner with,
My husband.
besides your husband? No, it can be somebody dead or alive, by the way. Celebrity.
Oh, you really, the list is very, very long actually.
You can give more names than one if you have many.
So I'm such a history buff that I would have loved to dine with Rajmata Gayatri Devi.
Oh, nice. Okay.
A feisty woman. Yeah.
One lesson you learned the hard way.
It's really not about luck. It's about hard work.
If not law, what would you have done?
You know this one, Kirti. I would have been a history professor.
Oh, okay.
My love for history.
So we've come to the end of the conversation, Shweta. Thank you so much for doing this and sharing your insights and your journey in the legal field. Thank you so much, and I wish you the very best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much for having me over, Kirti. This was lovely catching up and chatting with you today. Thank you again.
Thank you.